Good morning and welcome to Thursday's Get Active with Amy. Lovely to see you here and greetings from Max Physiotherapy in Clonakilty. Today we're going to talk all about walking. So, how many times has someone said to you, go out for a walk or just do a walk? They all make it sound like going for a walk is so simple, when as a matter of fact, walking is actually very, very complicated and it's made up of a lot of different components. So today we're going to delve into one aspect of walking, and the aspect we're going to delve into is what we call range of motion, okay? So what I want you to do now is very quickly, if you can pause the video, and if you can go and if you can get yourself a ball or a tin of beans or anything nice and soft, and also if you can get yourself a scarf or a towel or even a belt or a strap, anything that's long and thin, and then when you come back then press play again and we'll carry on with the exercises. Now, welcome back. If you want to, you can take off your shoes and socks. So, when we think of walking, we never actually delve into it and think about it. We think that walking is just standing up, going out the door and putting one foot in front of the other. Every single aspect of our lower limb, from our toes, our ankles, our knees and our hips, all plays a big part in walking. And if you have a deficit or a weakness or a tightness in any of these areas, what happens is it can affect the whole chain and it can affect your whole walking. So before we begin, I want you to stand up and I want you to think of your foot. Now watch me first. When I walk, my heel goes down in front, my toes are pulled up, then my foot is flat. Watch the back foot bend up. See how the toes are bent and my foot is pointed, and then as the leg comes through, my toes come up and my heels go down, and then the foot is flat, and then the foot behind, the heel comes up and the toe comes up. So now what I want you to do is I want you to stand. I want you to imagine that you can't bend your toes or your ankles, and I want you just to try and do a few steps over and back across the floor and see how that feels. It doesn't really work, does it? So unless your toes and your ankles are supple, it's very, very hard to walk. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen up our feet. The more our feet are loose, the better the contact with the ground. Your foot is made up of loads of bones. So when your foot goes on the ground, it adapts to the surface that it's on. So if your foot is stiff, the adaptation has to come from the ankle, or it has to come from the knee, or it has to come from the hip. So if you've got a stiff foot, you can get pain around your big toe, you can get plantar fasciitis in the middle of your foot, or you can get pains up the back of your calf. So loads of lovely things to do first of all for the foot. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to get a ball or a tin of beans. You're just going to put it under your foot and you're just going to make lovely circles. And just put as much pressure as you can onto the ball. So you start off by the knuckles of your toes and just going over and back and over and back. And it should feel quite nice. Now as we get older, we have a fat pad under the heads of these toes, and as we can get older we can lose some of the fat, so that can make under the toes quite sensitive, okay? So just over and back, side by side, and when you're ready then, the foot forward and the foot back and the foot forward and the foot back, and then big circles all the way around, left and right. Good. And change direction all the way around. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And now let's change feet. So balls of the foot, left and right. Good. And all the way around in front. And you can do this when you're sitting down watching television. You can do it when you're at the chair, but do try to take your shoes off. It'll make a big difference in terms of the motion in your foot, okay? Right, on to the next one. Next thing is picking up your foot in your hand, okay, if you can. And what I do is I'm going to hold around my big toe. I'm just going to push left and right, the feet, beside it. Then I'm going to move my hand down to the next toe, and then I'm going to move 3 side by side, move my finger down to the third middle bone and move left and right from side to side. That's it, and that's actually really nice just to get these small bones up the front moving. Good. Well done. And now we're just going to rock the foot. So I'm holding the foot in the middle and I am just moving it over and back, nice and gently. It might feel a little bit stiff to start with, so just go nice and slowly and nice and gently, and just, you know, go into it softly. Don't go into it too hard at all. Okay, lovely. And then what you can do is you can hold around the ankle and you can just make nice circles with the foot. So nothing should hurt and it should feel quite nice, because we don't really give our feet that much attention. They're in shoes and socks most of the time, so we don't really stop and look and think about it. Good. And let's change foot. So when you're at home yourself, you can do this in your own time and you can do it slower, but don't be afraid. It will feel very stiff, but don't be afraid to get in there. So my right hand goes around my first toe and my other hand cups the other 4 toes. I just very gently move one bone on the other. Remember, nothing should hurt, everything should feel quite nice. And then we're going to come on to the next one down. So I'm holding the first and the second one with my right hand and the 3 with my left hand, the 3 remaining. I'm just going to wiggle side by side. Good. And then we're going to move down to the next one and wiggle side by side. Lovely. And then we're going to go down one more and wiggle 4 and 1. Good. Well done. And then we're going to hold the middle of the foot and we're going to put my hands around the balls of my feet, and it's almost like wringing a J cloth. I'm going to move my hands in opposite directions. Lovely. And it actually loosens up as you do it, and you should feel a difference between both feet. And if you have one foot sore than the other, you might feel the sore foot is much stiffer. And then you can hold the ankle and just do nice circles. Lovely. So do that yourself, and what can be lovely is that if you have put your feet in a warm soak with Epsom salts or anything that you have, and just let your feet soak, and then doing that exercise, that would be so much nicer and you get so much more movement. But feet need a little bit of love and attention. Good, well done. Okay, so getting your scarf or whatever you have. So like what we saw when I was walking there, if I don't have much give in my feet, when I try to walk, I kind of stomp and slap my feet. The more give I have in my ankles, the more I pull my toes up, the more I clear my feet when I'm walking. So if I'm not lifting my toes, I'm more likely to stub my toe in a curb, or I'm more likely to stub my toe in a rock, so I'm more likely to catch my foot and things. So that's why the more movement you have in your foot and the more you can pull your foot up, the more your foot clears obstacles in the ground. So a nice way to do this is to get a towel or whatever you have, put it under the ball of your foot, and then very gently just push your foot away, and then very gently just pull your foot up towards you and hold it there for the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and rest. So you should feel a lovely stretch in the back of your calf. Let's go again. I'm pulling it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down. Let's go again. And don't be afraid, a stretch sensation, there's nothing to be worried about a stretch sensation. I'm pulling it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 more. Pulling it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and last time I'm pulling it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down. Good. Let's change sides. So again, putting the towel or whatever you have onto the ball of your foot and point away first, because after we point away the leg relaxes an awful lot more. And now pulling up the foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again pulling up the foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and last time pulling up the foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the next one is a little bit more complicated, and you really need to focus that you're not moving your knee. So putting it under the ball of your foot again. Okay, now this time I want you, with the knee pointing forward, to just pull up the left hand side of your towel on the right foot, and you should see the sole of your foot coming into the center. And then let it come back again. So you'll feel a stretch on the outside. So I'm just pulling the inside, so my sole comes in, and then back to center. And you'll feel a stretch on the outside of your ankle, or the outside of your collop if you live in West Cork. And back, and last time. The foot comes in and out. Now let's change direction, and there's not much movement in this one. So it's under your right foot, and you're pulling your right hand, so the sole of the foot goes out, but the knee stays forward. And again, it comes out to the right, and in, and out to the right hand side. Again, feel the foot stretch. And one more time, pulling the right all the way out and in. Super. Right, let's change sides. Give your foot a nice circle if you need to, just to get the circulation going and just to get the movement going in the ankle. Okay, very nice, very simple. Let's change sides. So putting the towel or your scarf under your left foot. Now we're going to start off with the foot coming in. So you keep your foot down, I'm just putting it up to show you. So you pull the right hand, and the sole of the foot comes in, and relax. Keep your knee up to the ceiling. You feel a tightness on the outside. This should be a nice tightness. And in, and 3 more, and 2, and last one, and in. Well done. Now let's change direction. So you're pulling the outside arm, okay, so very gently pulling the outside one out, and the sole of the foot points away, but the knee stays forward. Don't let the hip or the knee move. We just want pure ankle movement. Good. And 2 more, and in, and last time, out and in. Well done. And you can drop the scarf and just do nice circles with the ankle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, my foot feels freer. Okay, now let's move on to the knee. So if you watch me walking again, right, when I walk, my knee lifts up, my knee straightens as my heel goes down, and as the foot behind leaves the ground, my knee bends, and as it comes forward, it straightens. So for healthy walking with knees, I need to have a bend of about 90 degrees. Remember your mats in your knee. Okay, so if my knee is stiff, okay, I can't take long steps, so I'm taking shorter steps. And also, because I'm taking shorter steps, my foot is close to the ground, and because it's close to the ground, I'm more likely to stab my toe on a rug or on a rock. Okay, so one of the things we need for healthy walking with our knees is a nice knee bend. Okay, and we also need a nice knee straighten. So we did this exercise before. It's very simple, but it's very effective. So sitting in the chair, just pulling your foot up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and bend the foot down. As you can see, my foot is in 90 degrees when I sit in a proper chair. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those of you who may feel that you're not getting a full straight, which may happen if you have arthritis or soreness in the knees, you can always help it a little bit too with the towel. So you can help, and you can just help to lift it up, and you'll feel a hamstring stretch. If you haven't had your foot in that space before, you will feel a hamstring stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back. And let's change legs, and coming up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back. Lovely. Do that a few more times. Again, these are so simple and so easy to do when you're sitting down. Good. So as you can see, walking isn't such a just go for a walk. You need to have all the jigsaw pieces perfect to get the most out of your walking. So what we say that when your body is really happy, keep exercising, don't stop now because I'm talking. What we say that when you're walking, when your body is really comfortable, it's like, do you ever go to a shoe shop and find a lovely pair of shoes and you feel like skipping around the place? right? When your body is comfortable with all the different motions, when you go for a walk, you feel like you have a spring in your step, or you all know someone who's got a spring in their step. But if your body isn't happy with any of the components, what it does is, to protect itself, it's like you're putting on a pair of shoes that you wear to a wedding. You know you're going to wear them for the day, but when you walk with them, because your body isn't comfortable, the feet stay close to the floor and you take small steps. Yeah, we've all been there, we've all done it. Whereas in your lovely pair of runners or Echoes, you feel like you get a really big step. So when the body is really comfortable with all the components, your walking is lovely and big. Whereas if there's some components that aren't so good, the walking comes down to smaller steps and close to the ground, like somebody walking on ice. That's our protective mechanism. So your homework for this week, until we do walking again next week, is to look at your walking and see how you feel. Have you got a big spring in your step, or do you feel like you're taking small steps? Now we can do the same exercises in standing. Our knee bend all the way up and down. And the other side, remember, up to 90, and now we're adding in the hip. Again, if you look at my hip, keep moving while I'm talking, okay? So when I have a big hip movement, I take lovely big long steps, and the longer my steps, the more I clear the ground and more energy efficient it is. If my hip is stiff, I can't take big steps, so I'm going back to smaller steps, and again that means my foot is closer to the ground. So the next exercise is for mobilizing the knees and the hips. It's just like what we were doing every single week, but now you know one of its purposes. Knee up, hip up and down. So hold on if you need to. Knee up, hip up and down. Knee up, hip up and down. Yeah, very, 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 very simple. And if you've got more movement, go for it. If you can get it higher, 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 do. Okay? Lovely job. Okay, the other thing I started talking about the last day was balance. And with our balance reactions, we know that when I go to stumble, to help me, the hands go out, and the second thing that happens is my foot takes a big step. So if my hip and knee are good, when my balance goes, I can take a big foot forward to balance myself. But if I'm only taking small steps, when I go to stumble, if my foot just comes here, I haven't got a lot of give. So that's why we need this big, big, big hip and knee range of motion, okay? It's very simple when you understand it, isn't it? It makes total sense. Good. Very good. Okay, sideways. Sideways isn't so much the walking, but it's more again to do with our balance. If you go to lose your balance sideways, it's really important that you can do a big step to cover yourself. Okay, so again, holding on if you need to, just taking the foot all the way out to the side and in. Again, you can only go a small step, whereas if I go a big step, I get way more clearance and I have way more a hope of saving myself. Okay, so remember, you're staying upright. Good. Well done. I don't know what my exercises are doing, it's the lighting. Well done. Light and dark. Let's change sides. Out to the side and in again, coming up as far as you can. There isn't a lot of movement when you go sideways. Good. And last one. And in. We've lost all light. Super. Okay, well done, and sit down there for a minute, okay? So far with that, we saw we need ankle movement, we need knee movement, and we need hip movement. We have spoke about strength before, but you have to have movement with the strength. So sitting in the chair, there's a lot that you can do for your hips, okay? So very simple. Straighten your right foot out in front of you. Imagine your right foot is like a rolling pin, your toes are pointed to the ceiling and there's a clock, and roll your foot from 5 to 1 as though it's clock hands, and then you can roll your foot from 10 to 2. That's it. And if you're very mobile, you can go from 1/4 to 3. Okay, so this is very nice for the hip. If it hurts, might hurt some of you if you have arthritis in the hip, So be very gentle with it, but this is also a lovely way if you do have hip pain or if you do have a sore hip to get the circulation going and to help with it. But again, you do it very slowly. If it hurts, stop. The other leg, so pointing the foot away, your toes are towards you, and start off nice and slowly like you're rolling out pastry, a little rolling pin, 5 to 1, good, and then go to 10 to 2. That's it. And then if you can, quarter to 3. Again, nothing should hurt. Nice and gentle. Okay, very good. Well done. And then come back then from quarter to 3 to 10 to 2 and back to 5 to 1. Fantastic. Okay, well done everybody for getting this far. Okay, so your homework for this week. If you can, do this video 2 or 3 times between now and next Thursday. All the past videos, if you go into Max Physio homepage, you'll see the purple banner that says live class. If you click on that, you'll see all the old classes underneath. So do try and do this one a few more times. Have this one as your go back to exercise, okay? Now, for your homework this week, when you are out on your walking, I want you to stop and feel how you're walking. I want you to feel when you're relaxed, are your steps nice and big and long? What I want you to say in your head to help you take bigger steps, which means more clearance, is I am walking big and I am standing big. And when you tell yourself you are walking big and standing big and stepping big, you find that you automatically have this big high spring in your step. So you focus on the word big for this week, okay? What I also want you to feel is when you do put on different shoes, okay, and slippers are notorious for it, see if your walking goes more back to the walking on ice, okay? You know, the small steps and your foot close to the ground. So the more you walk big, the bigger the spring in your step, the more your body isn't comfortable with your footwear, or the more your body isn't comfortable with the terrain, well then the more you go back towards the walking on ice type of walking, which is the one that we don't want, okay? So to recap, your foot exercises, your ankle exercises, your knee exercises, conscious of your foot, and you are walking big for this week, okay? So Tuesday we're going to go back onto the arms again, and then on Thursday we're going to go back, we're going to look at more components of walking, and we are going to be looking at more at the balance side of walking next Thursday, okay? So well done for sticking with it this far. You're doing super, really good. Please do your homework. It'll make a huge difference to you. You'll really feel the benefit, okay? So looking forward to seeing you all again on Tuesday. Goodbye from Max Physio in Clonakilty.